Hey, it's Rick Eisensee here, author of Shift Your Mood at shiftyourmood.com. Today I'd like to talk about emotional reactivity, and especially about how mindfulness can be helpful in soothing and managing and just finding some way to deal with the strong emotions that sometimes arise in our lives. Mindfulness is often used simply to become aware of whatever is arising in the present moment. And sometimes people complain that their mental house is so full of all these leftovers from previous visits that it's difficult for them to stay still or present or have any level of kind of ease or what we're often assuming that mindfulness should lead us to. But mindfulness is really about being present with whatever arises, good or bad, uncomfortable or comfortable, even some of the most difficult situations in our lives can come up during mindfulness sessions. And this is something that it's really important for us to be able to get a grip on. Otherwise, we can become discouraged and wonder whether or not it's really even worth our while. A woman named Michelle McDonald several years ago came up with an acronym she calls RAIN, which is an approach to dealing with emotional reactivity. And the letters RAIN stand for recognition, acceptance or allowing, investigation, and non-identification. So we'll go through each one of these and see if you can relate to different aspects of this and see if this might be a helpful way for you to manage some of your own emotions as they arise. So first of all is recognition. We become aware that there's something going on that we're uncomfortable with. So we're aware of sadness or anger or fear or even boredom. And with this recognition, it's sometimes helpful to also label it just for ourselves. So if we can recognize which emotion it is, that can sometimes be helpful. But other times we're just sort of out of sorts, and even just acknowledging that to ourselves can be helpful as well. You know, I'm kind of uncomfortable, I'm out of sorts, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like something's off. And this, this recognition, I think, is just a simple noting that this is what's arising in the present moment. And in a way, it helps by recognizing what's going on. It helps keep us from being carried away with it and going down a dark tunnel where we're just in the midst of it and we don't have any perspective. So what this whole process does is really provide a lot more perspective for us. The next one is acceptance or allow. I think acceptance is a little tough to start with. It's not always that pleasant to feel as though we're overcome by these really strong emotions, and maybe even acceptance is the last thing we want to do. So another word is allow, simply allowing this to be recognized as it is. It's happening anyway, so we might as well recognize and allow it. And this allowing also, I think in some ways, is very validating. We kind of think, yes, this is happening right now. So the next one is investigation. And by investigation, we don't necessarily mean like psychoanalysis or trying to get at the root of why we've ever felt this way in our past or in our childhood and so on. Now, some of this awareness may come up for you, and of course, if it does, that's totally fine. But this kind of investigation is really stepping away from the story about what happened to you that made you feel this way or led to this emotional reaction, And it's really about noticing how this feeling manifests itself in your body. To start with, just going inside for a moment and noticing how this emotion registers in your own body. So this could be some tension in your shoulders, maybe some butterflies in your stomach, maybe some clenching because you're so angry, and so on. And along with this kind of physical investigation, I think it's also useful to notice if there's any other kinds of associations that you have with it. So this could include images, it could include memories, it could include other times you felt this way, and just getting a real rich sense of what's going on with you in the present moment, especially in regards to this particular feeling. And then the last part is what's referred to as non-identification. And what this means is that you don't get overly identified with the sense of rectitude or righteousness, with like righteous anger, for example, or thinking that if you're sad, you're going to be sad forever, and so you want to pull away from it. It's also not clinging to a sense of happiness. And so it's really about just kind of allowing this to be, but seeing it as a phenomenon that happens almost without your will, and sometimes even without much of your own participation. I think that this can happen with lighter feelings. We're just kind of noticing, oh, a little bit of irritation or anger or upset or preference and so on. Then we can just kind of note and let it go. It's these tougher ones where I think something like this rain analogy can be useful. Another technique that I find useful is to imagine yourself sitting in a train station. And a train pulls into the station, and on the front of the train is the destination of whatever your current obsession is. And so sitting in the train station, you can just note this train's coming in and whether or not you want to get on that train of thought. Sometimes it makes sense that you would. I'm going to investigate this, right? With the rain. If you can stay conscious and get on that train of thought and follow it with rain, recognition, acceptance or allowing, investigating, and non-identification, and then maybe get off at the next stop, that's totally fine. Or you can just let it go if it's not that compelling. Just kind of go, I've been down that road before, and I think I'll just let this one go. So, thanks for listening, and let me know what you think.